So the first thing I wanted to say to you guys was just a big thank you for the work that you do. I understand that you are on the front lines, and you are often the first point of contact that our students and families get to when they come to APS. And I've been in your offices, and I know how chaotic they can sometimes be when there's people approaching your desk and your phone is ringing, and it can be really crazy. So I just want to say thank you for holding it down, because I know that it's not an easy job, and you guys do a very good job. So thank you for your hard work. We appreciate it. One thing, when we met in the fall, when you guys met with Dr. McKenzie and I, we talked about the front office being key to the school's success, and therefore your role as being very key to school success. And we talked about creating culturally and linguistically responsive front office environments, right? One of the resources that we've recently developed and have been pushing out to your schools is a poster of, I'm sorry, it's underneath your purses now, of all our translation statement written in a bunch of different languages. So I just brought a sample with me today. It looks like this. The top of it says, in English, it says in a bunch of different languages that our district has an obligation to provide parents with free and effective language assistance, translation and interpretation services. And this poster directs them to this resource in our district. We have magnets for you guys to give families. We have flyers. I know a lot of those things are in your office. And this should be coming around to every school. So if you don't have one, you should be receiving one soon. And you're going to be receiving it in person. It's not going to come in the mail. We've charged our community liaisons with making direct personal contact with each and every front office, so that you have a face and a person who you know that you can rely on to ask questions about these services. If you already have one and you want more, because there's other points of, there's other points of contact in your schools that you need more posters, let us know. We'll give you more posters. You can have as many as you want, okay? So I just wanted to share that with you. And in addition to that, the other resources that we shared at our previous training, the magnets with our contact info for families, as well as the translation cards. If you need those, let us know and we'll send you more. I brought some English magnets with me today for you to stick on your filing cabinet or whatever, and I'll leave them at the front so that if you need to call our office, you have our extension handy. So we are obligated under federal law to communicate with families in a language that they understand. That's all written communication and verbal communication. So that's why we have these translation and interpretation services available in our district. 7580 is our extension. Okay, it's in the PowerPoint slides, and it's on the magnet, it's on the poster. 7580. Starting at 7:30 in the morning and up until 5 p.m. in the afternoon, we have bilingual English-Spanish personnel available at all times to help you communicate with families. If someone walks in and you don't have the personnel there, and your Spanish teacher's teaching, we don't want to pull them from their kids. And we also have a dial-out service where we can immediately dial for an interpreter in any language, okay, on the spot. And we have that so that we don't have to send the parent away to come back at another time when we can schedule the appropriate personnel to be in the building. We want to answer their questions real time so that they have the information they need to support their child, and that you have the information you need from the parent. So I've used that service to have conversations with parents in Fulani, Chinese, Vietnamese, and I don't speak those languages. But when you dial 7580, we can get someone on the phone to facilitate that conversation at the time that the person's in your office, okay? So please, please use that. As well, I just want to remind you of the link to translation and interpretation requests in the district. When you guys log on to My APS, this is probably a familiar image to you, right? You see it every day when you go into your computers. The link for translation and interpretation services is right here with all these little word bubbles that fall down. It's right in the middle of the page. So if you ever need to have a school letter translated about head lice or a field trip or we did the district early dismissal, whatever the case may be, if you know in advance, that you need that document translated, you can submit it here and we'll translate it into the languages that you need for your school. This is also where you click to make appointments with interpreters if your teachers are trying to have a parent-teacher conference, or you need to get someone for an SST or an IEP, or even an enrollment. You know that you have a family coming to you on Monday and that they're coming from Saudi Arabia, and you want to make sure that there's someone who speaks Arabic there in your office that day to support that family. This is the way to request that service, okay? So there's a screenshot of this also in your PowerPoint. If you can't find your way back to it, you can also dial our office 7580 and we'll direct you to it. And anytime you get an email from me or anyone in our office, there's a link to it in our signature line as well. Okay? It's just right on my APS. Any questions about that? So one thing I will say for our charter friends, hi, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Because we don't always get an opportunity to speak with you guys. This is a service where, because of the way that funding works for charters, you have to purchase your own translation and interpretation services. You're not able to utilize the services that the district pays for. However, I don't have any problem sharing resources with you that we've already developed, like our forms and things that we have in multiple languages. I would encourage you to go to this link. This link also has all of our translated forms in it. So when you click on these drop-down bubbles, if you're looking for the Spanish enrollment form or the French, the affidavit of residency, they're all posted in this link. So please take a look at it and feel free to utilize those resources. I'm sorry. Another new thing that I wanted to mention to you guys today that we didn't talk about when we met earlier in the fall, last fall, I don't know, what year is it? Sorry. As you guys are beginning to, some of you may already utilize, and I know you've talked about the contact log in Infinite Campus, right? So the request that we'd like to make to you is that when you put something in the contact log, if you have utilized an interpreter or utilized a translated form to communicate with the family, make a note of that. Because that's evidence that you've given the family the information they need in a manner that they can understand and interpret, okay? So all you would need to do is, I sent, this letter home in English and Spanish, just note that it went home in Spanish. And that helps everybody support the parent in having the same understanding that we do in our requirements. So that's a request that we'd like to make of you as you utilize the log. As well, if you dial 7580 and you have someone do Spanish interpretation on the phone and you're noting that conversation, or you ask someone to call a parent and come pick up their child and you're noting that, just make a note that you use the interpreter. Because that's you being responsive to the parent. It's important that we can see that we did that for that family. Did you want to say anything else on that, Corey?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to skip through this. We just talked about that. Just a reminder that lots of our forms are available in multiple languages. I know that we are really moving over to doing things electronically and online, but you know that you have families walk in every day and they do that paper enrollment form in your office, right? So please ensure that as you're asking for that enrollment information from the family, that you're using a form that's in a language that they can read and understand. Because if they don't read English and they're native Spanish speaking and we give them an English form, we might not get accurate information from that parent. The parent might not understand where the middle name goes on the form. I know you love name changes, right? No? They might not understand what date to put where. So it's really important that we use the translated forms that we have available to us. Okay, so we have the enrollment form in Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, French. We've got the affidavit of residency in Arabic and Spanish. I believe we have it in French now. We've got that objection for Social Security numbers translated. Proof of residency requirements, that's updated as the Office of Student and Assignment and Records updates it. We'll update that translation. And then the conditional enrollment form.
I have a question.
Yes.
If sending home information, say the principal sends a letter, that's
Yeah.
in English. You're definitely not thinking it needs to be translated.
It
What's
should.
the what's the time for it to be submitted and turned over in the language?
Well, we ask for 10 days. A lot of times it's quicker than that, but the office does have to prioritize. So if a letter about a book fair comes in at the same time that a letter from the superintendent comes in, what's gonna come first?
Right.
Oftentimes they don't need a full 10 days, and we also know that sometimes you don't know that something's going home until it's put in your mailbox, right? So you don't have that warning. But what helps us is if you go back to your principal and say, hey, where's the Spanish version? Or send it to our office. A lot of times those are things that are going out in multiple schools. And we might already have the Spanish translation available, the copy just didn't get put in your mailbox. So please, call 7580, ask us, so that we can kind of assess where it is in the district, or if it's something that you should submit. Any other questions about that? That's a good question. Okay. So, on your end, this is what I say all the time, there are 3 fields in Infinite Campus that we really, really, really need your help ensuring that they are filled out in their entirety, because this is how we identify kids for both ESOL services in our district and how we earn funding for immigrant students in our district, all right? So and I also put a little thank you in here, because I do want to say thank you to you guys. You have been doing a much better job at this year than I've seen before, and I think that that's a result of our work together. We really are not having as many issues. We see that you guys are putting this information in when you enroll kids. So thank you for sticking to those details for us. It really helps us out with our program. The first one that I want to start with is the home language survey questions. Sometimes you'll get those forms back and the parents don't fill them out. Well, do they understand what they say, number one? We need those questions filled out because those questions are what lets us know that there's a child in the district who needs to be screened for services, to be found if they're eligible. So if we don't have